Every morning I clean Sydney Road and some of the surrounding streets. I often work with our crew, who are a great bunch. They're hard-working but also up for a laugh, and part of what makes me get out of bed each day. It's really quiet first thing, but there's always a lot to clean. Sometimes it's a bit of a mess and there's rubbish scattered around. I clean the footpath, the street furniture, the bins and remove graffiti off public buildings. I like it. It keeps me busy. It feels pretty satisfying to know that at the end of each day I've made Sydney Road look a little better for everyone who lives, works and visits here. Cleaner streets make it a nicer place to shop too, and that helps our local traders. And as everyone starts their day and the shop's open, I get to meet some lovely community members and their dogs. Everyone knows Sydney Road is legendary. We should all show it some love.
Libraries are the heart of our community. They connect us, inspire us, and support lifelong learning.
Whether it's borrowing books, thank you,
learning how to use computers,
getting creative in our makerspaces,
or simply having a welcoming space to belong, the library is the place to be.
We're always evolving our spaces, collections and services to meet the diverse needs of our wonderful community.
I love my library. It's a safe place to be, it's inclusive. I always find something new that interests me. It's not just a place for books anymore.
A library has something for people of all ages.
And is a place of discovery, events and learning at every stage of life. It's your library. Visit us today.
Did you know that Merri-bek is home to a diverse community where more than 95 languages are spoken? That's why we offer information on council services in your language. If you received a rates notice that you don't understand, would like to request a new bin, or have another question for council, we can help. We have free in-person and phone interpreters who can help you communicate with staff at council in your language. To request an interpreter, simply call 92401111 and ask one of our customer service staff to organize one for you. You can also request an interpreter at one of our customer service centers, libraries, or maternal and child health centers. At Merri-bek, we're proud of our diverse community and we want to make sure everyone can access our services. For more information about our language services, please visit our website.
Wheel Sisters came about after some women in Fawkner approached us, wanting to learn to ride bikes and also find other women from their own community to ride with, including women who might ride in hijab or an abaya. One of the things that never gets old when you teach people to ride bikes is the sheer thrill they get when they realise they can do it.
The really special thing about teaching both the women in Fawkner and the women here is just the cultural barriers that they face every day, and coming from a place where they never thought they'd ever be able to ride a bike. A lot of them do reflect that it's been their lifelong dream to ride a bike, but they never thought they'd be able to do it. So it's just that extra level of being able to gift that to somebody.
I got really excited when I heard about this program. I'm almost 40 and I've never ridden a bike. I tried when I was little. Yeah, I still can't believe that I can ride, and yeah, it's been a dream and I'm so glad that it came true.
It was excellent, very special experience for me because it was my childhood wish to learn how to ride a bike.
Yeah, my experience was great because I've never ridden the bike before. So it was like truly empowering for me. And I thought I can't ever learn, but Kaz was really patient and encouraging.
At this age, it's a really courageous thing to learn new things. And any age, anyone can do it if they want it. And willingness is the most important things, and that's I prove myself.
I think it's good health-wise as well as environmentally. It gives me some physical activity to incorporate into my daily routine. I think it was great to find other people like me who have recently learned to ride, and we are all well connected now. Yeah, after so many years, I'm very grateful to have this opportunity and have Cass and Faith with us, and they've been amazing, amazing teachers. Everybody should give it a go and see for themselves how easy it is. Yeah, because I never thought I could, and I'm able to do it now.
Merri-bek as an organisation has a culture of pushing for better outcomes for the environment and really strong on sustainability. Part of that is adapting our infrastructure in the face of climate change. To do that, we need to test things. We need to work together with others in the industry to look at better and different ways of doing things. And that's what this trial is all about. This project has been a collaboration between Melbourne Water, Merri-bek City Council, the University of Melbourne, and then we've been working with Porous Lane, who have been coming up with new permeable pavement technologies which have been adapted for this permeable curb and channel.
Porous Lane is a unique material developed out of research at the University of Melbourne. It's comprised of approximately 50% recycled tyre, all sourced from Australia, and in this case the tyres were sourced from here in Victoria. It's a unique material in that it has a very high permeability. It infiltrates water at approximately 8 times the guideline that we use, international guideline, and so it's really effective at getting water off the road.
So this is a permeable curb and channel. The idea is that when it's raining, water will fall on what we call our catchment, so the street here in front of us, and it moves through this permeable material. Behind the permeable...
Good evening, councillors, members of the gallery, and to our viewers live streaming tonight's meeting. Can you guys hear me out there? Yep. My name is Councillor Nadabood and I am the Mayor of Merri-bek City Council and the chairperson of tonight's council meeting. Yep. It is my pleasure to welcome you to tonight's council meeting. We are meeting on the lands of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people. We wish to acknowledge them as the traditional custodians of these lands and waterways, and we would also like to pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging, as well as to all First Nations communities who significantly contribute to the life of this city. This council meeting is being recorded and web streamed live to council's website and YouTube. This recording will also be available as video on demand. Attendees are advised that they will be recorded during the meeting. A reminder that as councillors, we will act in accordance with the Councillor Code of Conduct, which will support the principles of good leadership and good governance that secures public confidence in the office of councillor. In the event of an emergency or disruption, we may be required to take action to ensure the safety of attendees. For members of the gallery and councillors attending in person, please follow the directions issued by council staff and security officers. I thank you all for your understanding and cooperation. I'd like to introduce the other councillors in attendance tonight. Councillor Dr. Jay Iwasaki.
Good evening,
the Deputy
everyone.
Mayor. Sorry, Jay.
I'm sorry. Thanks.
Councillor Sue Bolton.
Hi, everybody.
Councillor Helen Davidson.
Good evening.
Councillor Liz Irvin.
Hello, everyone.
Councillor Chris Miles.
Evening.
Councillor Helen Politis.
Good evening, everybody. Yassas.
Councillor Adam Pulford.
Hi, everyone.
Councillor Alice Svensson.
Good evening.
Councillor Katarine Theodosis.
Hello, everyone.
And Councillor Oscar Yildiz.
Good evening.
We have no one attending tonight because electronically because everybody is in the room. And I'd like to also introduce the Acting Chief Executive Officer to my right, Eamon Fennessy, and the senior management team behind us. Obviously, there are no apologies because we're all here in the room, but I do have a request for a leave of absence. So Councillor Chris Miles has requested a leave of absence from the 18th of December 2025 to the 1st of February 2026 inclusive. So councillors, if I could please have a motion. Councillor Theodosis, and seconded by Councillor Yildiz. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. I'll now move on to disclosures of conflicts of interest. Councillors, are there any conflicts of interest to declare? Thanks, everybody. Now I'll move to the confirmation of the minutes of the previous meetings. Councillors, could I have a motion for the confirmation of the minutes of the council meetings held on the 12th of November 2025 and the 19th of November 2025? Councillor Theodosis and Councillor Iwasaki. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. I'll now move to acknowledgements and other matters. So there is a provision of up to 10 minutes provided for councillors to acknowledge and recognise achievements of local individuals and organisations and to raise matters considered important to council that are not already listed in the meeting agenda. Councillors, do you have any acknowledgements or other matters you'd like to raise? Oh, Councillor Politis.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to acknowledge the presentation of our Lord Parish, who ran an incredible fundraiser on the weekend in support of our Daily Bread program, which is run by the powerhouse Sophie, who's in the gallery tonight. And I would like to share that within that 2-hour fundraising meeting, they raised over $30,000 in support of feeding those who suffer food insecurity in our municipality and beyond. So well done, congratulations.
Thank you, Councillor Politis. Any other councillors? Councillor Iwasaki. Oh, Councillor Theodosis.
Thank you. I just have two. One was I was able to attend the Pascoe Rotary Club's unveiling of their peace pole in Pascoe South Primary, and it was really great to see some of the students get up and speak about what peace in our community means to them and how important it is that I think community really is what peace is and how we can keep working towards that, particularly in really unsettling times. And it was really great to see Deb and Bruno from the Pascoe Rotary, who do so much in our community. And the second thing was I was also able to attend the Sussex Neighbourhood House Christmas party, and they do incredible work. Their volunteers and their members help out so many people in our community. And they also gave me some postcards to pass along to the state member for Pascoe, which is calling for the state government to increase their funding for our neighbourhood houses because they do such incredible work. So, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Theodosis. Councillor Irvin.
Yes, it's a busy month. I guess we're getting to the end of the year and there's lots of things on. So I'd just like to talk about a couple of things. Firstly, I attended the Brunswick Community History Group's book launch of It Happened in Brunswick, which is a very comprehensive history of the last sort of 150 plus years of Brunswick. And yeah, it's a really fascinating read for anyone who does manage to pick up a copy. And the Mayor and I also attended Carols by the Lake, which was a fantastic event, as always. Like, really great to see, all the kids sort of getting out, enjoying all the carols, and of course, a visit from Santa as well. And we also held a ward meeting for the 4 Brunswick councillors, and yeah, so thank you to everyone who attended that. It was really great to, hear your views on some of our current projects and happenings. And yes, I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Irvin. Councillor Bolton.
Yeah, so a couple of different things. One thing, just to draw attention to the fact that a Coburg Community Action Group has formed. mainly around the planning of the state government's proposal around activity centres and overdevelopment issues. Now, they had a committee meeting on Sunday, which I wasn't able to attend, but I hear it was quite well attended, and it's a group which will have ongoing activity. Second thing, I attended a gathering of people in Bonwick Street, on the corner of Bonwick Street and Dukes Road in Fawkner, where there is a very dangerous pedestrian crossing, which requires some work from council to redesign that area in order to make it much safer for pedestrians, and a petition has begun around that particular issue. Thirdly, I also attended the unveiling of a peace pole, this time at Fawkner Primary School, and I think it is a really great thing that the Pascoe Vale Rotary Club is doing. I mean, it's not just them, it's the whole Rotary organisation internationally, and really this started after the dropping of the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki cities in Japan, which resulted in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people. And so Rotary has been on a campaign to install peace poles in all sorts of different community places, where they also draw the links between peace in the home, peace in the community, as well as no war. And then the last thing is a group of us held an action in Coburg Mall, despite the rain, on Saturday, because a lot of people are not aware in the Coburg area and further north that at some time, probably in 2 to 3 years, the Upfield train line will close down for up to 18 months for level crossing removal in Brunswick, and that will mean there'll be no accessible form of public transport for a lengthy period of up to 18 months. And so the campaign is to try and get accessible tram stops installed before the shutting of the line, so that people have got an accessible way of getting around. If you're in a wheelchair, have kids in a pram, have on crutches, a broken leg or something, you can still get around.
Thank you, Councillor Bolton. Councillor Iwasaki?
Yes, I'd like to report on my recent attendance to an interstate conference, the Ecological Society of Australia in Adelaide, and share why it was so valuable and what I've learned for the city. This event in Adelaide brought together leading researchers, councils, and practitioners who are shaping the future of urban nature, biodiversity, and climate resilience. Key lessons included that cities like ours can achieve major environmental and social benefits through relatively small, low-cost, and scientifically tested interventions. One of the standouts that we can learn from is Green Adelaide. They've shown that instead of relying on large, expensive projects, small, scalable, nature-based solutions can deliver strong biodiversity and cooling benefits at a fraction of the cost. These are exactly the kinds of solutions that we should be looking at to implement across Merri-bek's constrained landscapes, especially with how much of our municipality is covered in concrete and how low our tree canopy cover is compared with the rest of Melbourne. The research was very diverse, and one of my favorite and most promising presentations that I saw was done along the Merri Creek. It showed that nature-based activities increase a sense of belonging, reduce loneliness, and improve well-being, especially for migrants, refugees, LGBTQIA+ people, and asylum seekers. With more than a third of our residents born overseas, this presents a high-value, scalable social intervention that Council already supports through cultural ambassadors' long-term programs and can be further supported with co-designed programs. A final point I want to emphasize is how valuable our research partnerships are. Studies conducted in Merri-bek were also presented, such as Pip Bell's Nature Strip Planting Project, which has brought external grant funding into the municipality, delivered biodiversity improvements on our nature strips, and engaged local residents across Fawkner, Coburg, and Brunswick. In short, the event provided high-value insights and direct practical applications that have been trialed already, which can benefit us environmentally, socially, and economically. By attending this event, we showed that we cared about those things that we say we care about. We strengthened those relationships, and ensured Merri-bek stays at the forefront of urban nature innovation.
Thank you, Councillor Iwasaki. Are there any other councillors that would like to mention anything? I just wanted to mention two quick things. One is to remind everybody that this Thursday sees the opening of the Coburg Night Market. The weather looks perfect, so Thursday night, Friday night, and from midday on Saturday, get down there and have something to eat or see a band. And also, it was made apparent to me that Ted Egan, who was a much beloved folk music legend and lived until he was 16 at 14 Higginbotham Street, has passed away at the tender age of 93 years. So I told the Coburg Historical Society that I would mention that this evening, and so that's that done. Thanks for listening. Okay, I'll now move to petitions. I don't have any petitions listed in the agenda, and none have been received since the agenda was produced, but I will ask councillors, do you have any petitions to be tabled on behalf of residents? No? Okay, thank you. Yep, so can I ask the community if there are any petitions that they would like to table? Okay, thanks. I'll now move to questions of council and community statements. So the time provided for questions and statements is 30 minutes, and this time can be extended by another 30 minutes by resolution of council. If we do not have time to answer your question this evening, it will be taken on notice and responded to in writing. Priority will be given to questions and statements that relate to matters listed in the agenda. If time allows, questions about items other than those listed on the agenda will be considered. A maximum of 2 questions or statements in any combination is allowed per person, and questions or statements that relate to a matter listed in the agenda will be dealt with first. If you have registered to ask a question, when I invite you, you or your representative must state your name and suburb and then ask your question with a preamble or background for up to 3 minutes. If you've registered to make a statement, when I invite you, you or your representative must state your name and suburb and then make your statement without taking longer than 3 minutes. If you have submitted a second question or indicated you have a second statement, it may, at my discretion, be deferred until all other persons who have submitted questions have asked their first question, or not be asked if time does not permit. A maximum of 3 questions will be heard on any one subject, and then we will proceed to the next topic. If time allows, we will return to the previous topic. I will either answer the question on behalf of council or invite another councillor to answer. Alternatively, I will ask the CEO to provide a response or refer it to another council officer. There will be no response or discussion in relation to community statements. As detailed by the governance rules, questions or statements may be disallowed if they are defamatory, indecent, abusive, offensive, irrelevant, trivial or objectionable in language or substance. If a response to your question is provided at tonight's meeting, there will be no further formal response. However, council will action any commitments made in answering the question. Council has received 5 questions and 3 statements relating to the agenda items, and 11, I think we're up to about 13 questions related to non-agenda items. So at this stage, pretty much most all submitters have been invited to ask their question or make their statement. So I'll move to that now. So even though that was a lot of words, basically what we want to do is hear from you, and that's what this is all about. So I hope that we can all respect the space and make the most of this time together. So I'll ask now for speakers that relate to the agenda. So relating to report number 7.1, the Places for People plan, draft for engagement, and I'll ask Andrea Bunting, who's here in person, to please come and ask her 2 questions.
Thank you, Mayor and councillors. Andrea Bunting from Brunswick, convener of Walk on Merri-bek. So My question is about the Places for People plan, in particular the major activity street corridors, and I'm particularly interested in works related to Lygon Street and Sydney Road that have been the subject of previous council resolutions. So last year, in the period of the previous council, so some of you may not know about this, Walk on Merri-bek and Brunswick Residents Network held a very successful meeting called Make Lygon Street Sparkle, which was attended by Councillor Pulford and Councillor Bolton, but I remember it was discussed in February, so March. Anyway, following this, there was a council report and included a resolution of referring to the budget process consideration of $40,000 to undertake an infrastructure and street furniture audit on Lygon Street to declutter the street from unnecessary infrastructure. So could council please update us on plans to declutter Lygon Street? Because the Places for People plan refers only to decluttering Sydney Road. And the second question is in regard to the Love Sydney Road program. I've had some communication a year ago with officers responsible for the program, in particular due to the desperate lack of public seating in Sydney Road, particularly in Coburg. I was told there would be a Sydney Road furniture audit which would consider opportunities for more seating. But since then, I haven't seen any new seating. Not that I have done a detailed study, this is just general observations, but I have seen seating removed from Sydney Road, some of it not legitimately. But seats, there seem to be a decline in seats. So could council please update us on the results of the seating audit on Sydney Road, in particular what seating opportunities have been identified and plans to address these?
Thank you, Andrea. I'm going to ask the Director of Place and Environment, Penny Winslade, to answer that question for you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks, Andrea, very much for your questions. In relation to Lygon Street, the draft Places for People plan identifies opportunities for improvements to civic and public spaces along Lygon Street. So many of the items that were discussed at that community event, the Make Lygon Street Sparkle event, which relate to civic space upgrades, have been considered in the Places for People plan. And while a infrastructure and street furniture audit wasn't adopted in the budget, in the current budget period that we're within, many minor upgrades, including upgrades to seating, can be managed through requests and routine maintenance within the existing maintenance budget. So that remains an avenue to consider that. Other efforts to reduce unnecessary clutter and infrastructure on Lygon Street will be undertaken when we're delivering specific projects in the final Places for People plan that Council adopts. So that will adjoin Lygon Street and be considered as part of those urban design projects. In response to your second question relating to Sydney Road, I'm not across the conversations you had previously, but the Sydney Road furniture audit was a holistic view of all the street furniture along Sydney Road, so poles and seating and bike hoops and lots of things. It looked at opportunities it looked at the state, the condition of those items, and it looked at opportunities to declutter, but it didn't look at opportunities to put new furniture in. That's my understanding anyway. It didn't look at opportunities for new provision. So I apologise if your expectations were raised that there would be new setting as a result. That wasn't part of the scope of that audit. But again, new seating opportunities can be considered as part of the Streets for People program for projects that intersect with Sydney Road. And seating related to bus stops across Merri-bek will be considered in a report that's coming back to the Chamber early next year through a process following a council resolution a few months ago. And finally, as part of the Places for People engagement again, we'd like the community's ideas on where there might be opportunities along Sydney Road for seating locations and for sort of urban renewal and those sorts of public realm improvements. So we absolutely welcome feedback through that process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll now ask, well, actually, I think we now have Thomas Edward Gorry, who is online with a statement relating to report number 7.3, suburb boundary realignment, Barina Road, Glenroy, Oak Park. And if we could see if Thomas is online. That's just happening now, so bear with us. Come in, Thomas. Just waiting for Thomas to get his end of the tech sorted so that he can join the meeting online, but he is there. Okay, so we're going to come back to Thomas. He's just having a few tech issues. So what I'll move onto is Notice of Motion 8.1, retain the former Coburg North TAFE site for skills, innovation and job creation. And I'll ask Tia Lamaro, Maggie Cowling and Emma Bonetto, who are all here in person with their questions and statements as you're ready.
Hello, everyone.
So if we just could have your name and where you are.
Yep, my name's Theodora Lamaro. I live at 27 Williams Road, Coburg North. My home and that of my neighbours is completely surrounded by the former Kangam Batman TAFE site. As Council will be aware, the state government has recently undertaken a consultation process in regards to the future use of this site. I attended the council meeting in November to express my dismay that Merri-bek council staff had made a lengthy submission to this consultation, which residents felt did not consider those of us already living in the area. In council's submission, it is mentioned multiple times that the council does not want the site zoned residential so as not to be constrained by sensitive uses. There are approximately 200 residents who already call this area home, and we feel extremely concerned by the language used in this submission. Excuse me. At the last meeting, I also requested that Councillor Politis defer her motion, which is to be considered again here tonight, until she and other councillors had time to meet with us and hear our concerns. We are very happy to report that Mayor Abood, Councillor Bolton and Councillor Politis all came down to see the TAFE site and our homes and businesses yesterday, and that they were very gracious with their time. At this meeting, we were able to show the councillors just how enmeshed our homes are with this site and to express our numerous concerns about the plans moving forward. My first question is, will Council commit to continuing consultation with our group and to advocating on our behalf to the state government regarding our concerns, which include protecting our amenity, including protection from noise, light, air and soil pollution, protecting the current significant trees on the site, increasing permeability of the site, concerns around traffic and increased use of heavy vehicles in our streets, concerns around the lack of engagement or consultation with local community members, and a lack of information regarding why the two sites that are separated by Williams Road have been separated in the proposal, and what is earmarked for the second site, which will have a significant impact on the livability of our area depending on what happens to the two sites together.
So again, I'll ask the Director for Place and Environment, Penny Winslade, to answer the question for us, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, thank you very much, Taya. The short answer to your question is yes. Council officers are really happy to continue to engage with your group, and we can continue to communicate your concerns with the relevant state government agencies. As it's a state government process, we also encourage you to continue to engage with the state yourselves as well. Probably a slightly longer answer is many of the issues that you're raising, issues like amenity and noise and traffic and significant trees, permeability and managing the interfaces, they're important planning matters. They're typically matters that are sort of addressed at the detailed design and development stage, which is a sort of next stage rather than where the state is at. That doesn't mean you can't raise them. That's just kind of what this consultation is about. But in our conversations with Development Victoria, we can continue to emphasise things like considering the adjoining and existing residential uses and making sure there's appropriate interface treatments, protecting significant trees and encouraging tree canopy, ensuring sustainable designs, including things like permeability, addressing traffic and heavy vehicle movement, and undertaking meaningful community consultation as well. And we'll certainly seek clarity on the relationship between the two sites and anything the state's prepared to share with us and you about those sites we don't know at this stage.
Thank you so much. Am I allowed to ask my second question? Or go to Maggie? Go to Maggie. Given that we've only started to consult with council so recently and that we don't have all the information at hand, for example, what's planned for the second site not included in the consultation, will Councillor Politis consider withdrawing her motion in relation to the Kangum Batman TAFE site tonight so that we can continue to engage around those concerns?
Councillor Politis, would you like to respond to the question, or you could?
I'm happy to respond to that question. So I've given due consideration to all those issues, and I actually share your concerns. My motion actually calls for funding from the federal government in respect to this site. I feel it's really important that we engage with all levels of government to ensure that this site becomes usable for all citizens, and that it future-proofs the city. And so at this stage, given that that is the purpose of this motion, there were two aims with this motion. One is to note the report that's already been tabled by council to state government, so they've already that's already gone. But the other ask is for federal funding. So I would like to proceed with that motion on the basis that I think it is significant that we start to advocate for funding for that site, whilst at the same time continuing to engage and consult with the local community.
Thank you, Councillor Politis. Maggie, if you'd like to approach the lectern and make your statement.
Look, I don't think I really need to add anything because I think Taya's really covered it all. I'm also a neighbour. I'm Maggie Cowling, 1 Mantell Street. I'm just a couple of doors and an intersection from the site. And I just wanted to reiterate what Taya has just said about what the local community wants and our concerns, and also our gratitude for Council's involvement and advocacy on our behalf to both state government and also for federal funding for it. Yep. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bolton, did you have a question? Oh, you wanted to make a statement, answer a question? Sure, no problem.
Just with regard to this site, and I know that residents want the whole precinct to remain a combination site of people living on the industrial estate, but also having some amenity and acknowledging the fact that a number of different sort of cottage kind of industries like furnishing, making, glass blowing, etc. on this in this general area. I know that residents are wanting to have a little bit more protection of their amenity in terms of mixed-use zone. I think this is, I think we do want to step up the contact between the residents and councillors as well as council staff to make sure that councillors and council staff fully understand the situation that people are living with in this particular area, but also the potential harms if council doesn't really consider increased protections for residents' amenity. So I think all we can do is really step up that process, and certainly I'm committed to having that dialogue with residents, and some other councillors are as well.
Thank you, Councillor Bolton. Can I just check, is Emma Bonetto in person, or that was a to be confirmed, so potentially Emma's not. Is Emma online? No. Yeah, not online, Maggie, thank you. Okay, so I have just heard that Thomas is not making it online, but I do have a statement that I can read on his behalf, which says, "Good evening, councillors. My name is Thomas Edward Gorry, owner of 26 Barina Road. I wish to express my support for the proposed suburb boundary realignment so that my property on Barina Road is formally recognised as part of Oak Park. Our services, local identity and community connections align with Oak Park, and having the correct suburb will avoid ongoing confusion for residents and service providers. At present, the boundary creates ongoing operational issues. For example, Google Maps does not identify any property on Barina Road as having been located in Glenroy. Earlier today, I provided council with screenshots taken at 8:48 a.m, confirming that Google's online mapping systems only acknowledge Barina Road as part of Oak Park. As a result, service providers, deliveries and visitors frequently have difficulty finding the correct location. There have been cases where people are instead directed to Barina Road in Glen Iris due to the system's inability to locate Barina Road, Glenroy. In addition, from a practical and community use perspective, Barina Road residents engage with the Oak Park community for local shopping, services and daily activities, all within close walking distance. Updating the suburb boundary will ensure administrative accuracy, remove unnecessary confusion and align with the recorded locality within the actual community use and identity. For these reasons, I respectfully request that Council adopt the recommended boundary realignment. And I hope that that will please Thomas to have heard that read out. So those are all the questions that we had that relate to the agenda, and now we have time to move to non-agenda related questions, which I want to say is actually a relief to me, because the consultation that we're running in Central Coburg, which seems to be most of what is the focus of the rest of the questions, is really important to us. It runs for another 8 days until the 18th, at which point the consultation will be closed and we then go back to the draft for probably a few months to continue talking about it. So I'm really grateful that, and I know I speak for all of us, that you are engaging as a community with the process. And I hope that we can just take the time that we need to hear from each of you and have this dialogue in an effective way. So the first person I've got on my list is Bill Rizopoulos, and I believe you're in person. Bill, if you would like to come and ask your questions. If you can squeeze that into 3 minutes, go for your life, Bill. Is it a green button there, you see? If it's green, you're good to go.
Yeah, Bill Rizopoulos, Strathmore. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, officers. Half a dozen of you know me from running the workshop on the corner of Gaffney and Sydney Road for 20 years. In that time, I've never found myself needing to be in chambers until the Coburg Is Here project was first shown to me. For context, I'd like to acknowledge the engagement our Greek Orthodox parish at 21 Victoria Street has received thus far. We began this journey back in May and are grateful that Eamon and Penny have come on site to try and understand our concerns. As such, I'm not here to table anything tonight, but I would like to show you over 2,500 in-person signatures we have collected in just 14 days. This is not online clicking. This is real people with real concerns. As such, we would also like to thank the member for Pascoe and the federal member for Wills, who have strongly supported us due to the serious implications pending for our community. Councillors, the parish of the Presentation of our Lord is not simply a church. Hundreds of volunteers run programs that support our community all year round, including addiction recovery programs, outreach to the homeless, language other than English classes, and VCE school examinations. Last year, our local priest, Father Leo, was recognised as the Merri-bek Volunteer of the Year. Most of our parish didn't even know he was honoured because he wasn't available to receive his award, I should say. He was, of course, too busy volunteering. Our anxiety is real. It comes from 8 stories of what we call Tower 1, which will sit within a stone's throw. Its scale, proximity, and the associated changes will place a significant burden on the services we provide. The reason I'm here today is to ask, will councillors make an undertaking to come and visit us, especially during peak periods like the annual fete and Easter procession, and try and fathom how we're expected to operate under the current design? Stand where we stand. See the crowds, picture the carnival equipment, the food stalls, even the camel rides, and then imagine all of that boxed into 15 high-rise towers. At a minimum, all of that will disappear during stage 1 of construction, and so will the donations that keep our programs alive. Can I remind councillors that new apartments alone do not build community? People do, institutions do. We welcome progress, we welcome housing, we do not welcome displacement. I thank the council for taking my question.
Thank you, Bill. Is there a councillor that would like to answer Bill's question about us attending to engage? Councillor Bolton?
I'm certainly keen to attend and be part of these important gatherings, the fete and the Easter service, depending on what else is happening at the time. I'm sure there'll be other councillors who will be willing to come. And I've also had a meeting today with Peter from the committee at the church to talk also a bit more about the nature of the activities and the extent of the activities of the church. So, but I'm sure there'll be other councillors who will be interested in being part of that as well, but I certainly am.
Councillor Pilatus. Thank you, Councillor Bolton.
For the record, yes, I think I know most of the parish, but of course I'll be there.
Councillor Iwasaki.
Yes, I'd of course love to attend.
Councillor Theodosis.
Absolutely. I'm there every Easter for Pascha, so I'll definitely be there again and more than happy to come visit again.
Councillor Svensson and then Councillor Yildiz.
Very happy to come and get to know the church community even better. Thank you.
Councillor Yildiz.
Yeah, Bill, I think you know where I stand on this. I've made my feelings clear in a public post yesterday, but I did meet with Father Leo and a number of people at the church yesterday. I've been coming to the church since 1986. Born and raised in Coburg North, Coburg High, so I have a very strong relationship in terms of visiting the church, but have been there during Easter too, so I know what goes on. But if you said come again, always will, as you know, and I think you know my support for the church overall.
Councillor Davidson.
I think most people here
Careful what you wish for, Bill.
Very happy to attend.
Unanimous will be good.
Yes, so we probably don't need to go round the room, but I was there on Sunday with you, and I've been to many functions and really value and appreciate the community that you've built and how extensive it is. So keep doing the good work that you're doing. It's very much appreciated in Merri-bek.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davidson. I think Councillor Irvin was down the street this afternoon. I think you have our support and you definitely have our ears. We are listening to the community. Thank you, Bill. Did you feel like, was that both questions or did you have a second question?
That's one. I'm sure the other speakers are going to get
Yeah.
some more questions.
Sure.
Thank you.
So bear with me while I try to pronounce this. Chris Koniditsiotis. Can you say that for me, Councillor Pilatus? Koniditsiotis. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. I should say that is a very traditional
Merri-bek surname. So,
Good to know. And if we could just hear where you're from as well, please.
Chris Konaditsiotis from Coburg, born in Brunswick, lived in Coburg, got married, went to Pascoe Vale, still married, came back to Coburg. Apart from really about 3 years when I was helping the people of Indonesia build affordable roads, believe it or not, for the World Bank, I've lived here by choice. You know, not because I've inherited any property or because my parents lived here. I live here because I like Merri-bek. I need to declare that I am also a member of the Greek community, as no doubt the surname has indicated, but also a member of the Greek Orthodox Church from the day it was, from its inception in 1979. For me, it's a home. I just want to stress that I've never come to council chambers. I've never had a need to ask a question. Now, some of you might say, well, that's wrong of you. You should have exercised that right. But I've never had a problem. So my view is I've got nothing to say if I don't have a problem. So why am I here? Because today I've got a bit of a problem. And my problem is that really, at one level, I really like the thrust of the plan. The reality is it's a long time coming, and I hope it's not another false start, to put it bluntly. And I say that as someone who at 4 o'clock wants to go and have a cup of coffee somewhere or meet friends, and I've got nowhere to go. As you would know from the work that you've already done, we leave Coburg to go elsewhere. I want to stay in Coburg. But what's our problem? I love the library location. I love the piazza. I know you don't like where the library is now, but I can assure you it used to be upstairs in a building here when I was young going to Coburg High. So even where it is now, it's better than where it was upstairs. But putting all that aside, our issue is that 8-storey tower directly across the front door. Simple as that. Everything else is a common issue that everyone would have. But that's our issue. Simple as that. What we would like is that piazza to be extended, to make it truly the heart. Build the library where it belongs, and go all the way up to the great facade, which is the Coburg Railway Station. My question is a simple one. Our parish priest and Bill and others, we spent 6 months talking to council about this. And to put it bluntly, we were disappointed that the plan that we saw had no reflection of that, nor did we get a heads up on that. Rather, it was literally at Woolworths at Coburg looking at the age and saying, oh, this is interesting. I didn't realise that. So that's my question. Like, it's a lot of time, 6 months, and not to even understand that we didn't even get an acknowledgement of what we were after. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Are you happy for me to take that as a statement, or did you?
I'm happy for you to take it as a statement. I'm happy for it to get an answer to the question sometime later as well. I'm not expecting an answer today, obviously.
Okay, thanks so much. We're well and truly in the dialogue about it. I need to ask councillors if I could please have an extension of question time. Councillor Davidson and Councillor Irvin, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Declare that carried unanimously.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Chris. I'd now like to call on the man who's fondly known as Father Leo, Reverend Father Leonides. Welcome.
Welcome, thank you. I'll try stay in the 3 minutes, I promise. I'm not used to speaking very fast. Firstly, I would like to extend the blessings of His Eminence Archbishop Macarius of Australia and His Grace Bishop Eumenios of Choras, who is the local bishop in this area as well. And also to give you all my love and congratulations for the hard work that you do on behalf of all the people that I represent today in Merri-bek. Apart from that, congratulations, Nat Aboud, for becoming our new mayor. We also thank Helen Davidson for all the beautiful work she's done alongside us for so many years, and everybody and all the other councillors that have been speaking to us and giving us support over the years and even now. I would like to sincerely thank all of the council for its willingness to work with us in identifying a new space for Our Daily Bread. So just talking about some of the meetings we've already had. So we're very grateful for that, and we look forward to continuing those discussions and finding a solution to its losing its spot at the moment in the old Coles where we store our food, a space that was pointed out to us when we didn't have any more room to grow by Helen Davidson. Obviously, the redevelopment will mean that we need to take that seriously and continue to talk. I also express our gratitude for certain councillors' commitments in safeguarding the well-being and safety of our Greek school children and families, which recently have been scarred by an intrusion into our Greek school, which led us to have to do a citizen's arrest on the person. Safety is something that's starting to really concern us in our area. Your cooperation reflects the values of an inclusive and diverse community that we too proudly uphold and are very proud of. Our parish and our charitable organisation have served the Coburg community for decades. Every week, approximately 8,000 people come in and out of our church, our hall, our charitable services, our liturgical services, and all the other sacraments that we do. We also host some of the largest cultural and religious gatherings in the city of Merri-bek, and oldest, if I may add, including the annual Coburg Greek Festival, which we look forward to having you all there unanimously, alongside also with thousands of visitors that attend our Holy Week Easter celebrations, tens of thousands gathering together for Good Friday, Easter Saturday and Sunday, who, by the way, when the services end, the morning services, and I believe some of the night services, because we tend to go pretty late, filter out into the streets and support local business. And we want them to keep coming for our faith, but also for the area. The current plans, however, place a new building directly across the full frontage of our church between 23 to 29 Victoria Street, Coburg, blocking our public interface and removing all surrounding parking. This would significantly restrict our ability to safely conduct these major public events outside, where they need to be outside. They cannot be inside. This is a religious liturgical fact for us, something that council knew when we built the church. So this is major public events, and we want to continue serving the thousands who rely on us weekly. We love them, and we want to be here for them, and we want to grow together with the project, not be boxed in by it. During pre-planning and pre-consultation discussions, which I actually enjoyed, the church made clear that we welcomed and strongly supported the creation of a public piazza directly in front of the church. In fact, I even mentioned places around Australia, and particularly Cogra in New South Wales, which accommodated the church by putting that opening directly in front of it so it can interact with the space liturgically and festively. The discussions went well. We want to enable the community to continue gathering, interacting and growing in an open and accessible and inclusive public space. Unfortunately, we're shocked when the plans came out that instead of the piazza being in front of our church, we've got an 8-story building that covers the entire face of our church. The entire face, not a section of it. It spans throughout the whole front. This means I can't do Easter service outside. Those thousands of people will go elsewhere. Slowly, the funds will go down. We do not charge for any of our services. We're not one of those charities that turns around and says, give me $5 for a plate of food. We give everything for free. So far, we've been self-fundraising ourselves. We've had no support in regards to that. We get told, we're behind you, we're supporting you, but that never equates to what it's supposed to. And we're not, you know what, we're not going to beg or ask for that. What we do want, and this is my question, in the spirit of our inclusivity and diversity that we all share together in Merri-bek and our parish, something we all champion, will Council reconsider the current design and relocate the proposed building so that the public piazza originally discussed with us is placed in front of the church instead, ensuring that our parish, our 8,000 weekly visitors, we had over 300 or so today just at a funeral, not including the other services we provided. Excuse me for the
I hate to do this, but I'm just want to draw your attention to the clock. I know you're speaking on behalf of a lot of people.
No problem. So the question is very simple. For our 8,000 weekly visitors and the broader community, we need to continue using this safe space freely and interactively for generations to come. Can the building please be moved?
Thank you. Thank you, Father Leo. The short answer to the will we consider it is absolutely we are considering it. That's what the idea of the draft is. And when the draft is closed in 8 days, we will continue the dialogue with you and everybody else. Thank you. I also have a question from Peter Gonis. Peter, you won't be having 6 minutes, okay? Until you open a church. Yeah, well. Thank you.
Councillors, thanks for this. I have two questions, and one of them is, I'll just read it out. So the first one is, in the interests of openness and transparency, will Merri-bek Council give the undertaking to adhere to their community engagement policy? And I also ask for an extension of the consultation process. Do you want the second question? How extensive have the vulnerable elderly in this area been consulted regarding the Coburg Central proposal? So I have concerns that the net hasn't been cast wide enough.
Thank you, Peter. I'm going to ask the Director for Place and Environment, Penny Wenslade, to answer the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and my apologies. Peter, I might need you to repeat the first question. You just asked different questions from the ones that were submitted, so I was trying to take notes at the same time. That's fine. The first question was about the community engagement. Is that right?
So the first question is will Merri-bek Council give the undertaking to adhere to their community engagement policy?
Well, through you, Mayor, the answer is absolutely yes.
Is that a yes? Because
Sorry, Peter. This is when it gets awkward. It's not a debate. So if you like, we can address the second question.
Through you, Mayor, and Peter, thanks for your question. And I think we talked about this a little bit a couple of weeks ago in the meeting at the church. We've had a number of consultations with groups that represent elderly people, including a meeting that's happening with the Wintringham residents right in the precinct, and meetings with a range of community organisations that council works with. So that's what we've done at this stage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's one bit that,
Councillor Bolton?
wasn't answered, which is about extending the consultation process.
Through you, Mayor, we wouldn't be proposing to extend the consultation process at this stage. That doesn't mean we won't continue to consider feedback if people are providing it after the closing date. So it's a pretty lengthy consultation period for council, a 6-week consultation, and we've been pretty intensively out in the community and on the streets. So we wouldn't propose to extend it at this stage, but we're still listening.
Thank you. Thanks, Peter. Thanks for the question. I'll now move to Tony Rossios, who is here in person. Question council funding for religious faith groups, or two questions, sorry. Tony, how are you?
Natalie, congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you.
Long time no see. So welcome everybody, and obviously to the diverse group at the back who live in Australia, own land in Australia, therefore we're all Australians according to the Australian Constitution. So we mentioned before, I think it was you, sorry, Mr. Wasaki, you mentioned that there's a third of the population in Merri-bek that's overseas migrants, which is fantastic as we get exposed to a lot of different cultures. However, it's becoming a melting pot and there's a lot of different religious groups and different religious beliefs that all live within the community. And we're seeing through funding through the council that some groups in particular get more funding than others, and there's things occurring within the community that push one group more another, and it sort of creates friction and a lot of debate and unrest within the community. So I don't think it's a council's objective to be pushing religious beliefs. It's a personal opinion and a lot of others. So just want to understand, with cost of living being very high, there's a lot of potholes in roads, a lot of infrastructure problems, crime, graffiti, from a main group of religious organisations such as Hindus, Islamic, Christian Catholics, Christian Orthodoxy, LBGT, as that's gaining prominence. What's the funding that the council has given to these groups per financial year for the last 3 years to get an understanding of how money is being spent?
And would you like to ask the second question as well?
Yeah. The second question ties into the first question about pushing certain religious beliefs and cultural beliefs. Just want to understand from a council perspective, the next 12 months, what are the religious themes or cultural beliefs that the council will be endorsing and pushing through community newsletters and events in the next 12 months?
Thanks for the question, Tony.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask the the acting director of community to answer that question. Stefan Brunn, please. Or take it on notice.
Through you, Mayor. Thank you. Thank you for your questions, Tony. There's quite a bit of detail required to respond to that, so we'll have to take that question on notice and we'll come back to you in the coming days.
Both the questions.
Both questions. That's right.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you. I'd now ask Kieran Bailey to come and ask their question related to new state planning laws. If Kieran is here. Oh.
Hello, Council. Hi. Hello. I'm Kieran Bailey. I'm from Coburg and I have a statement to make and a question. Is it okay?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you to the Mayor and councillors and the council staff who attended the public community meeting on Sunday. I really appreciated seeing your faces there. It was great. Residents appreciated that they had the chance to speak with you and directly about the planning changes that will shape our suburbs. The new state planning laws that have now been passed, we understand that the council does not have the power to reverse them, but the impacts will be felt here in the Merri-bek. Our community already sees the growing pressures on roads, services and open spaces. We want development to remain thoughtful and responsible and our neighbourhoods safe and livable. Our community group and Coburg Community Action Group has formed to ensure residents stay informed and actively involved. As the Better Decisions Made Faster plan changes begin to take effect, many residents are concerned that these new laws will reduce public input at the exact moment that development is accelerating in Merri-bek. We want to work with the council to ensure that every tool that remains within the planning scheme to protect livability and ensure infrastructure keeps pace with growth. We are committed to constructive advocacy and we support goods development, strong neighbourhood character in the Merri-bek. We hope Council will continue to stand with the community as we navigate the next stage together. Thank you.
Thank you. And the question?
Thanks. If more planning decisions now bypass the council under the Better Decisions Made Faster laws that were passed yesterday, will council protect our suburbs from overdevelopment and ensure new development only occurs where roads, services and local infrastructure can be properly scaled and supported?
Thank you, Kieran. I'll pass to the Director of Place and Environment to answer the question. Penny Winsley, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor, and thank you, Kieran, for your question. The Minister for Planning has been the responsible authority for a really long time, and so that continues with these reforms. But there are, as you say, more decisions that won't come through council that will be deemed to comply or will happen faster. And we really understand the community's concern about particularly where there might be decisions made by the minister which might not be taking into account as much of the local context. We can't change those laws, but council will continue to actively plan for and advocate on behalf of Merri-bek residents, of course, and we'll use all the tools that are available to us. So that's advocacy, it's infrastructure planning, it's development contributions, and investment in transport and open space to help protect livability in Merri-bek as our community grows. We'll of course also be looking at the local planning scheme amendments that may make sense to complement some of the state's housing reforms that are happening at the moment. But some of those advocacies include for the upfield rail line improvements, an accessible tram infrastructure, our Streets for People plan, which is trying to improve livability and safety on our transport corridors, as well as those significant planning scheme amendments. And one of the really recent state announcements last week is proposing to introduce a new infrastructure contribution in the activity centres, and that will actually mean potentially more funding from developers for local infrastructure as well as for state infrastructure. So we'll use our council plan and our annual budget setting processes to make sure that those infrastructure contributions from developers go to prioritise how that investment is directed in the community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Penny. Thank you. Can I find out, is Helen Deans here in person? Yes, she is. Okay, thank you, Kieran. So Helen, if you'd like to come and ask your question, and then I think we'll have time for one more question, which will be you, Sophie Koutulas, which was a question submitted tonight, and then I have two that we'll respond to in writing. Thank you, Helen.
Thank you, and congratulations to the Mayor, and thank you all councillors and to the staff. I'm actually here because of the legislation, the bill that was passed through state government yesterday, the planning amendment, Better Decisions Made Faster Bill 2025. And it has, for us, it has all the hallmarks of dodgy decisions made faster. We're really concerned about it. We think the developers are the clear winners out of this, and we're also looking at the demise of covenants and heritage with it. But apart from that, development generally, we see it as it's sort of in danger. Anyway, we started off with 3 activity centres. We thought we had 3. We have one in Brunswick, one in Coburg, one in Pentridge. That's all morphed right through 6 or 7 kilometres of solid activity centres. In that, in the last lot of activity centre information that came out, the strategic sites, which are the 16 plus sites, they're 16 to 20 odd sites, and they can go further because all they have to do is apply. 13 of those came to Merri-bek. 1 went to Kew, 1 went to Oakley. None of the other places got them. We are just getting loaded, and we are really concerned about it. Anyway, I'm actually asking, my actual question tonight is, would you please revisit the planning, the actual plan that you submit back to the government for the activity centre? I know that they had to be submitted before there were any consultations. We all heard about it through the age together, the planning department, the councillors and the community. There's been no consultation, no meaningful consultation with the community at all. And in light of the fact that we're about to lose our covenants, because when they start getting challenged, they will just fall like dominoes effectively. In light of that and the heritage, etc., we would ask that the council ask the planning department to re-look at those, particularly in light of the heritage areas that exist that have just had 4 to 6 levels, inner cores just dumped straight over them. And it's clearly inappropriate without the inner core, outer core sort of, graduation going down, etc. Anyway, I'm just asking if there's any chance, please, if you could just go through the process and redo. And I'm sorry.
Thank you, Helen. I'll ask the Director for Place and Environment again. Penny, please, if you could provide an answer.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, and thank you, Helen, very much for your question. And we're acutely conscious that these state changes are happening really rapidly. We did write to the state, like many councils, when the bill was announced, and asked if the government would consider slowing it down so there could be some more consultation. But obviously, it passed through the upper house yesterday. But it doesn't change the process and timing for the activity centres. And like the majority of councils, Merri-bek was clear when that process began that it was a state process and we wouldn't run a competing consultation. The deadline for submissions through to the state was in October, and we met those deadlines. And we did raise some of the issues that the Glencairn community had raised with us and alerted the state to those issues. And we do know the state is very aware of that feedback. But for us to open a new consultation, which couldn't start until January, we know the state's deep in submissions at the moment. It's very unlikely it would be read or have any impact. By the time we would be delivering it, the state would be delivering its decisions. So we do encourage you to raise your concerns directly with the state, and officers would be very happy to write to the state again and say, in light of this legislative change that nobody knew about, we raise your attention again to the issues that the community's raising.
Okay, thank you, Penny. Thanks, Helen.
Very much.
So the final question is from Sophie Koutoulas. If you could come in, please, Sophie. Thanks, Sophie.
Hello, my name is Sophie Koutoulas, and I'm the manager of Our Daily Bread, which is a food relief charity that is located at 23 to 29 Victoria Street, Coburg. We actually rent out our premises there. We cook 250 freshly cooked meals a week. We give out 400 food parcels, dry goods and perishable fresh goods, and 100 homeless packs, which consists of food and sanitary packs each week. This totals 13,000 meals a year and 30,000 food parcels a year, and we have a monthly budget of $40,000. We are entirely self-funded, and this is achieved by sponsors, donors, and a lot of hard work, tireless fundraising, such as our fundraiser, which we had on the weekend. Thank you so much to all who attended, and next year we will definitely be extending our invitation to everyone here. So we have over 60 volunteers, but we can only afford one paid employee. We definitely have more work than we can do with volunteers, and they are extremely extended. I run 2 very busy dental clinics, but I manage this large food relief program pro bono, and we are growing very quickly. But we need to have funding to continue to grow because the need is increasing. So this leads me to my question. In the last 5 years, which Merri-bek food relief charities or other groups have received monetary funding, housing or land from the council for this purpose? How much and why or how were they able to access this funding? This is something that obviously we have not been able to tap into to date.
Yep.
Sophie, thank you so much for the question and also for the work that you do. Because the question was submitted this evening and I want to get an informed answer from you, we'll take this on notice and send you a formal reply,
Okay.
if that suits you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you for listening to me tonight.
Thanks. So that brings us to the end of question time. So if you need a few minutes to leave, now is the time. It might not be as... the issues that some of you have referred to are not in our agenda this evening. So if you need to leave, there's no shame in that. Yeah, sure. I'm happy to adjourn the meeting for a few minutes.
Just to adjourn for 5 minutes.
Sure. Yep. Yeah, Councillor Osaki, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Great. We'll be back in 10 minutes. Thank you. Okay, thank you, everybody. I now need to have a mover and a seconder to reopen the meeting. Thank you, Councillor Iwasaki and Councillor Davidson to second. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Declare that carried. So the next item on the agenda involves the tabling of the independent arbiter's determination and statement of reasons as required by the Local Government Act 2020. Since this item is only for tabling and recording in the minutes, we'll move on to the council reports. And the first council report we have this evening is 7.1, Places for People Plan, Draft for Engagement. Can I just ask, does any councillor have a conflict of interest to disclose on this item? Nope. So I'll ask for a mover, Councillor Pulford, and a seconder, Councillor Irvin. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. This item sends out for consultation to the community our Places for People plan, and it's the third of a series of big plans and pieces of strategic work looking at our city as a whole and the public spaces that are in our city. The first one we worked on was the open space strategy, and then the action plan with all the projects we'll do to improve our open space and increase access to open space. The second is the Streets for People plan, looking at our streets and roads in our city as both ways we get from A to B, but also as places in themselves and places that can be enjoyed, especially if there's some trees along the way or some seats there that people can stop in and sit and enjoy our streets. So this is the third one. This is our civic places. So like our public squares, and it looks particularly in our activity centres, but also sets out a framework for how we make decisions on how we can upgrade, improve, and potentially even create new civic spaces in our neighbourhood activity centres and in our local areas as well. So this is just putting it out to consultation. It's quite an interesting plan. It maps out our activity centres, it maps out the civic spaces that currently exist. It also shows some opportunities for creating new civic spaces, potentially by closing roads or doing other innovative things. So I think it's a really exciting piece of work. I think it needs to be viewed alongside our open space and Streets for People strategies and action plans as well. And just encourage people to look at this and give your feedback on what you think the priorities should be. Also how council should make the decisions about what areas to prioritise to invest in. We've got a big city with lots of people in it. So yeah, keen to hear your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pulford. Councillor Irvin, would you like to speak as the seconder?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yes, Councillor Pulford kind of covered off the main points, but I would really encourage everyone to have a look through this draft policy. It is going out for community feedback. And as you flick through, you may see some of your favourite places around Merri-bek. And, you know, I think the team has been doing an incredible job, you know, creating really vibrant, welcoming, accessible spaces around our city. So we really look forward to delivering more of those, you know, with your feedback and ideas. So please have a look and get involved.
Thank you, Councillor Irvin. I need to ask now, is there a councillor in opposition? No. Other councillors who'd like to speak in support of the motion? Councillor Politis?
Yes, I'm very happy to speak in support of this motion. This Places for People council plan is a very good piece of work, and it is full of very interesting information. I can't believe that we've got 55 activity centres if we tally up the major ones, the neighbourhood ones and the local ones. I mean, that's an extraordinary number. I also noted, as Councillor Irvin said, there are some nice graphics of some of our favourite places. And of course, one of mine is the Victoria Mall, which is probably one of the most highly used spaces compared to many of the others. And probably the one that is most in need of repair and upgrade. So I'm very pleased that this plan is going out for consultation. I suspect that there will be very active engagement with this one, which I think we can all look forward to.
Thank you, Councillor Politis. Other councillors who'd like to speak? No. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Thank you. 7.2, support for public housing statement. Councillor Svensson to move, Councillor Bolton to second. Councillor Svensson, would you like to talk to the motion?
Yes, I would like to. Although it feels like I'm talking about public housing and the need for more public housing at almost every council meeting at the moment. Can you not hear me? Oh, it's a patchy. Is that better? I might do a swapsies with one of the other councillors. Is this any better? I've just been given the dodgy mic. I'll start again. So yes, I'd love to talk to this report. It feels like I'm having to talk about the importance of public housing feels like almost every meeting at the moment. Our council, myself and a lot of my colleagues here, we've repeatedly expressed our support for public housing and opposition to the planned demolition of the 44 public housing towers. So this report here is we were contacted by a number of experts in the area calling for us to sign on to support a statement to go to the government, essentially with a number of asks, but all around reinforcing the need for public housing and the need for actually decent rationale to be published about why the government is planning to demolish all 44 of the public housing towers. So that's what this statement is about. It's pretty bloody frustrating that we even need to consider writing to the government yet again to say that these towers that there needs to actually be a reasonable business case supporting why the government is looking at demolishing the towers, and that we need to be investing in more public housing, not tearing it down. It's especially frustrating given that just in the last couple of weeks, the state government's own inquiry into the planned demolition of the public housing towers came back with a recommendation that they immediately halt the destruction. The inquiry found that the Victorian government had refused to provide evidence to justify the demolition plans, which was in breach of parliamentary rules. They're not even following their own rules when going forward with this plan. And I think everybody here knows how much we need public housing, both in Merri-bek, but more broadly across Victoria and across Australia. I've said this before and I'll say it again. We have over 65,000 people in Victoria waiting for social housing. That's an enormous number of people and it's growing. We're seeing it growing at an ever faster rate because of the housing crisis. So we need to be building more public housing, not tearing it down. But as we know, Victoria has the lowest investment in public and social housing of any state and territory in Australia. There is a tiny bit of good news, though, in the social housing space. Very recently, there was a win in Parliament that is going to, if the minister allows it, that's a big if, but it's going to allow local councils to put in place mandatory social and affordable housing requirements for new developments. So we can say, hey, you want to build a big tower right here? Well, you've got to actually benefit the community and put in the social housing that we so desperately need.
Thank you,
So
Councillor
that's a big
Svensson.
win.
Thank you. Councillor Bolton.
Yes, so this request to council and many other organisations was put out in the lead up to a public meeting. It feels like ages ago. Well, it probably is ages ago. The public meeting was attended by 600 or more people. It was a very good thing that they put out the request for organisations to sign on to 3 components, and probably the most important component right now is to call on the state government to release structural assessments of the public housing towers, because it's widely suspected that there's no grounds to demolish the public houses, no structural reasons, that it is purely in the interests of developers and not wanting poor people to live in the centre of the city where there's services and so forth. I do support the recommendations of the council officers, where the council officers have worded the support for the 2 elements of utilising surplus land for public housing, surplus state government land for surplus housing, and also inclusionary zoning as being broadly supportive because there is an exception to this in Merri-bek, and that is the old Ballarat-Maroop Aboriginal school site, which is surplus government land, but we actually do want it for a First Nations community centre. And so, you know, that is an exception. That's the sort of exception that probably the group that put this statement together weren't aware of. But, you know, I have put a motion on the books in the past and actually won a motion through council on, I think, 1 or 2 occasions for the old Kangan Batman sites in Merri-bek to be public housing. And that actually is on the books somewhere a long time ago. But I think one of the things that was evident from this public meeting as the community housing sector has grown is the extent to which community housing organisations now have developers on their boards, like actual developers. So there's actually quite a conflict of interest, and even some of the NGOs are not supportive of public housing. So there is a need very much for council to back the grassroots movement that's calling for genuine public housing and not fake community housing.
Thank you, Councillor Bolton. Is there a councillor that would like to speak against the motion? Or other councillors who would like to speak in support? Councillor Politis?
Yeah, look, I think we all stand united on public housing. I'm a little concerned about some of the inaccuracies in this report. I also have at the front of mind the Grand Place experience, which was held up by a number of years on the belief that, you know, it was inappropriate to demolish it, and it was completely appropriate to demolish it. We've ended up with a lot more housing. We've ended up with housing for women fleeing violence, and it is far more fit for purpose. I'm also conscious that some of the towers have already been identified as possibly being able to remain with some modifications or some further modifications. So I just wanted to put those comments out there for the record. However, I don't oppose the motion and I agree with the officer's recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Politis. Are there other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? Nope. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? And declare that carried unanimously. Okay, so we'll move on to 7.3, which is the suburb boundary realignment at Barina Road, Glenroy/Oak Park. Can I ask, Councillor Miles, would you like to move? Yeah, and Councillor Davidson to second. Councillor Miles, would you like to speak?
Yes, this is pretty simple, but I'll just, as a resident of Glenroy, I'll wish Barina Road the best of luck with its new life with Oak Park.
Thank you, Councillor Miles. Councillor Davidson?
I think this is needed and a bit overdue, and as Councillor Miles said, yeah, it's just going to make some issues resolved for people living in those particular subdivided homes. So, yeah, very supportive of it.
Thank you, Councillor Davidson. Are there other councillors that would like to speak? Councillor Theodosis.
Yeah, just to say that this is, I think, really great, and there's some historical context to this as well, which I found really interesting, but to me that makes sense for that to be Oak Park. It's right next to Oak Park Station, and I would, as a sort of Hadfield resident, I would sort of think, yeah, that's definitely Oak Park, so it makes sense to me as well.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll just add, Barina Road, you're no longer in the suburb of Glen Iris, you're now officially about to become part of Oak Park. So I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Okay, 7.4, Financial Management Report for the period ended 31st of October 2025. Can I, Councillor Irvin and a seconder, Councillor Politis? Councillor Irvin, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is a regular report that comes to Council and just sums up our financial management, in this case through to the end of October. And it is a really good look if you're ever wanting to see what our financial situation is like and, you know, how we're going with things like our capital works and revenue and things like that. So in this case, it does show that we have a very healthy surplus. And also sort of indicates this is not necessarily, cash that we have on hand. We use it to invest in future projects. And so yes, it's just worth sort of keeping an eye on if you want to see what council is up to and how we're managing our finances, which, thankfully is very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Irvin. Councillor Politis?
I think we need to be proud of this council for a positive cash result, and the fact that we are solvent. It's not the case in a lot of councils. I also welcome the additional funding expenditure related to the Elevate Transformation Program, because I think that's very important. I think I counted 58 capital work programs that we're about to undertake, which is huge, and which is, quite a significant undertaking, I think. So I'm very proud of our financial management position, and I commend this report.
Thank you, Councillor Politis. Are there councillors who would like to speak against this motion? Anybody else who would like to speak in support? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. I'll now move to 7.5, the governance report. Councillor Iwasaki. And a seconder, Councillor Irvin.
Yes, I'd like to move the alternative motion that I sent around today.
Thank you.
So this is this motion provides the records and meetings and attendances, sets the times for next year's meetings, and sets the future date for the next mayor elections. It also appoints portfolio councillors for areas which each councillor has the most interest in, including portfolios, internal committees, external committees, and advisory groups. It also notes the domestic animal management plan for year 4 annual review and evaluation. There are some slight changes that are mostly relating to point 8, and that just amends the terms of reference for Health, Wellbeing and Social Inclusion Advisory Committee to permit 2 council representatives. And I think that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you, Councillor Iwasaki. Councillor Irvin?
Nothing really to add, just I guess it's sort of in front of us if people haven't seen it, but it was also circulated earlier and is the basis of, what we'd put our hands up and express an interest in over the past, couple of weeks.
Thank you. Are there any councillors who would like to speak against the motion? Sure.
So on the 26th of November at 6:38, 15 days ago, I sent an email to our governance officer, Eve, and I included all the councillors in that email. I also CC'd the executive team, Sophie Barrison, into that email. I clearly expressed my interest in the external committee. It's up there, MAV, and formally put my name forward. My name has since been removed from this committee nomination. Could someone explain to me who removed it, why it was removed, and why there was no discussion or communication with me about that?
Councillor Yildiz, Councillor Iwasaki has put forward an amended version of the recommendation. Would you like to propose an amendment to this version of the motion?
There's no point, because it's obviously, if I did move, I'm happy to move an amendment, not that it's going to make any difference, but it would be, I thought, to work cohesively, it would have been a good idea to maybe contact myself to say, hey, look, your name's on there, but there's 2 other councils that would like to go on there instead of you. But I did put my interest down only 15 days ago, so it wasn't recent. And I'm just sort of baffled as to why suddenly my name's just been removed without any consultation, any contact, no phone call, no email, nothing. Just taken off. It's happened once before, but I thought maybe we were moving forward to work cohesively together. But even if I move an amendment, I'm happy to move it. Not that I don't think it's going to make any difference, but
So I think just for the sake of process, I should probably stay within the governance rules of the debate about the item. We've had the mover and the seconder speak to the item. If you would like to speak against the item, you're welcome to do that.
no point.
Okay, thank you. Are there other councillors who would like to speak in support of the motion? Yeah, so I'll just say a couple of words in support of the motion. There have been conversations that have been had at briefings, in person, regarding this matter, and emails have been circulated. I want to draw attention to the fact that my name is one of the names that was put forward as the representation of the Municipal Association of Victoria. I think that it's the kind of thing that is a good thing for me to do because I have the time and the commitment in this case, and that is why I'm supporting the idea of myself being put forward, and I hope councillors will support this version of events that's been prepared here. Are there any other councillors who'd like to speak? So I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. So I'll now move to 7.6, which is the contract extension, contract SS-08-2020 Banking and Financial Services State Purchasing Contract. And can I have a mover, please? Councillor Theodosis, thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Irvin. Councillor Theodosis, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I'll just, this is that we use Westpac as our preferred service provider for our transactional banking services, and our contract with them is going to end, so we're going to extend it. And it seems like from the papers that this is the most financially sustainable way to go about it, because I think there might have been some other external costs if we did change providers. So that's why we've decided to continue. Well, this is the recommendation to continue with Westpac.
Thank you, Councillor Theodosis. Councillor Evan, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, really just to add that, I wanted to commend this report. It's an interesting report, and I think it really goes into detail about why it's important to have procurement policy, and particularly procurement policy that aligns with our values and our other strategies. And I guess, in particular, it's just there's a note in there that this particular recommendation partially doesn't align with our environmental section of the environment, social and governance procurement considerations under our procurement policy. But the reason that we still have to sort of pursue this particular option really is because there are no alternatives that are kind of feasible for us at this stage. And I think it's, obviously in this case, we have to sort of continue going with Westpac, and that we do have in our agreement that we will terminate the engagement if Westpac changes or reduces its public commitment to reduce thermal coal exposure to zero by 2030. So I think this is also another case where council can actually use our purchasing power to get banks and other financial organisations to do better in terms of climate action. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Irvin. Is there a councillor that would like to speak against the motion? Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Bolton.
I'd like to make a comment, then I might abstain. I do note that point 2 of the motion is that at the end of this contract, if council votes for it, that there will be one further 2-year option to extend this contract, but that it will not be entered into without further resolution from council. And I think that is important, that the contract not just get rolled over, because as we can see, Westpac, they're not the only one, is a fossil, does fund a lot of fossil fuel projects. I originally moved the motion for the fossil fuel divestment strategy in 2015, and it is really disappointing that that was 10 years ago and we've still got banking with fossil fuel companies. But I can also understand the bind of the council because other, the banks that are supposedly non-fossil fuel, don't provide the full range of transactional services that the council needs. So it is a bind, but I would certainly urge council officers at the end of each of these contracts, or before the end of these contracts, to continue quizzing these financial institutions about exactly what they're doing and funding in terms of fossil fuel, because I think that is, it's a massive problem that the whole system is so entwined with the fossil fuel companies.
Thank you, Councillor Bolton. Are there any councillors that would like to speak to the motion? Councillor Iwasaki?
Yeah, I'd actually just like to echo and reiterate and add to Councillor Bolton's point, because I use banks that are certified B corporations, and I think that's really important that we look into our council's finances, utilizing services that are ethical, and until we can find that service that fits our purposes, we should keep looking. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Iwasaki. If there are no further comments, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Yes, yep. And Councillor Yildiz, did you abstain as well? So, sorry, just for clarity, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried, and Councillor Bolton is abstaining. Thank you. I'll now move to 7.7, contract variation, RFT 2025-1 Dunstan Reserve Childcare Centre expansion. Councillor Svensson and Councillor Theodosis. Councillor Svensson, would you like to speak?
Yeah, I'll keep it brief for this one because I've already spoken about how awesome this childcare is, and it's very well loved and very well utilised and is bursting at the seams, needs more space. And we had already awarded the contract in order to expand the kindergarten, but what happens is sometimes unforeseen events occur and we need to vary our contracts. And what happened here is termites. So we need to vary this contract to account for the cost of unexpected termites and making sure that the new expanded building is completely up to snuff and safe and state of the art. So this is part of that, but even with the increased contract, we are still well within the approved budget, almost $1 million less than the approved budget in the Capital Works program. So things are still on track.
Fantastic, thank you. Councillor Theodosis, would you like to speak?
Yeah, I'll just add that expanding the childcare centre itself was important. As our community grows, we need to have accessible services for residents that are close to home and good quality services as well. So having that expanded childcare centre is going to be really great for the community, and I'm glad that there's no termites anymore, so that's great.
Is there a councillor that would like to speak against the motion, or any other councillors who would like to speak in support? Councillor Politis.
I'd like to speak in support as a mother. My kids have grown up. I no longer need childcare, but I think it's always important to remember the impact of having accessible childcare in the community, the benefit and the benefits that brings, the impacts and the benefits. And so, yeah, I commend this, and I think that we should always have front in mind that actually providing childcare within the community actually brings back enormous benefits to the community, enabling parents to work and enabling children to thrive.
Thank you, Councillor Politis. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to the motion? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried unanimously. 7.8, Contract Award RFT 2025-46 West Street Shopping Strip Renewal Project. Councillor Miles?
I would like to ask for a deferral on this.
Yes. So I'll need to put the deferral to the vote. Is there? Yep. Councillor Davidson will second.
Can I ask officer advice?
Yep, sure.
Just want to ask, potentially, is it you, Anita? No, Penny. Just deferring contracts in my mind is never good practice. Would there be any impacts to this in terms of costs or anything to the project if we were to defer this contract?
I'm really sorry, Councillor Pulford, because I would need to take that on notice and get some advice. I imagine deferring until February is likely, it is likely to have some impact on contract negotiations, yes.
Would you like me to explain why I'm asking for a deferral?
So you, just for process, Councillor Miles, you do have a seconder for the deferral, Councillor Davidson. So Councillor Miles, you can speak to your rationale for the deferral.
Yeah, so look, a lot of the shop owners who are on West Street, they run small businesses, so they spend a lot of time actually running a business rather than going through agendas. I've had a few people reach out to me very recently tonight with their concerns of the loss of car park going from 6 to 11. That's really raised some concerns. So I just think that we need to look at this properly before we go ahead and need to have more of a variation down the track. If I know we probably can't even do that, but there's a lot of really concerned shop owners in that street right now because of that loss, because the loss of 5 was stressing them out and 6 going to 11 now is really causing some concern. So I understand that it might cost a little bit of money, but this is something that's going to be in place for a very, very long time. And I doubt that they're going to, as a tradesperson, I know they're not going to start work on this for quite a while. And a change in variations through trade, I mean, if we were to defer it for 6 months to a year, I could see a large increase, but a defer of 3 months in construction, it might add a little bit, but I think it's not really going to add as much as I would imagine that might be concerning some other councillors. So I just would really like to get this right before we go ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Miles. Councillor Davidson?
I think my microphone's a bit scratchy, but I hope people can hear me. The traders were consulted back in 2023, I believe, and the concern is that, as Councillor Miles has said, initially there was an understanding of 6 car parks. That's increased to a further 5 spaces to be removed. And that's surrounding sight lines and other requirements. So I think for any project to be successful, it's about bringing the community and particularly the traders along with the journey. And to have an increase like that with these traders now saying that they're not aware and the loss of business revenue from those car parks immediately in that vicinity is concerning. The report also comments on how well used these car parks particularly are. So a deferral in my mind and the associated cost of that, if there is one, it would be justified.
Yep, thank you. Can I just clarify with you, Councillor Miles, for the sake of process again, exactly what the deferral states? So are you suggesting that Council defer consideration on this matter until, shall we say, February, to allow further consideration and resolve any concerns? Is that what you would like to be proposing? Yep. Yeah, question?
I just have a question if it could be added to this report just to, not to defer it, but to just add to this report to investigate any potential offsets in the area instead of deferring.
So,
offsets of car parking.
So the CEO has...
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councillors. I understand the issues that are being raised here. The decision that's in front of you is to either accept and approve a contract or not. So they're the 2 choices you've got. The challenge with this project is it is part of our DCP, Development Contributions program commitment. So we've collected money that's funded this from development. So there's a timeline pressure on that. The other challenge is, of course, we've gone out to market, we've sought a price. The degree to which that price will hold from the preferred is probably no more than 30 days. So I think we can check that, but so it may mean that we need to retender.
Councillor Theodosis.
Given the timing of this, and also that we haven't had enough, maybe we've got some more questions to ask, particularly around the DCP and everything, could we maybe have potentially before our next PALM meeting, would we be able to have a special meeting on this item and get some more information in the next week?
We could certainly defer it and call a special meeting for this one.
So with
That's
that in,
that's
Council meeting for a
possible.
contract.
with that in mind, what I would propose, Councillor Miles, is that the motion that you're putting in terms of this deferral would in fact say that Council defer consideration on this matter until the date of the PALM meeting, which we can clarify because I don't know off the top of my head, to allow further consideration and resolve any concerns, which would be a 2-week period rather than 2 months. Oh, sorry, 1 week. Yeah. Does that work for you? Does that work for you, Councillor Miles? Yep, the 17th. Okay. So are there councillors that would like to speak against the proposal to defer this item until the 17th? Councillor Pulford?
This project's been on the books for a long, long time, and there's been multiple rounds of engagement. I understand that businesses may be concerned now. My understanding is that those car parks need to be removed for safety, for essential safety upgrades. And it might be different if we were in a November council meeting and it was just deferring it to December, but actually deferring it 3 months is quite a long time.
Sorry, just let me interrupt you there. The proposal is for a week.
Okay, yeah.
no.
All right, so it is better that it's a week than 3 months. I mean, I won't be at the next council meeting, so I won't be able to participate in that decision. But my other concern is if it is deferred, say we get to, what's actually going to change within the next week? This project's been talked about for a long, long time. And if we get to next week and then decide to defer it to February, or you guys decide to defer it to February, I think we will see cost blowout. The other issue is contractors don't just sit around and wait, they take on other jobs. And so they might not be available. And so we might have to go to a different contractor. And there's so much work in the system, which is why prices are constantly going up. Anyway, I just think it's not it's very late in the process. We've had multiple rounds of engagement. We've had things happen. And to try and defer a contract now, I think it's not the best practice decision-making, I believe.
Thank you, Councillor Pulford. I just want to double check again that you're happy with those words on the screen in terms of what we're actually debating. I think that is right. So that before our PALM meeting, we would get together to discuss this. I've heard speakers for and against, and I'd like to speak to this myself. If this was a deferral for 2 months, it would worry me. Because it's a 1-week deferral and there's not a high likelihood of this work commencing just right before Christmas, this is one of the very rare occasions where I don't have a problem supporting the idea of a 1-week deferral. But I just would like to check if there are any legal implications by putting it off for a week if we don't award the tender this evening like we might have said that we would.
Through you, Mayor, I think 1 week is okay. I think I will need to take some advice on whether changing scope causes issues with the procurement process. So we'll take all of that advice and we can do a briefing alongside the PALM briefing.
On Monday.
And yeah.
Thanks for the information. Councillor Bolton.
One extra thing that would be good to know is the deadline in terms of the DCP process. Oh, okay. Yeah. But anyway, how the project, the deferral by week. I'm similar to Councillor Aboud. I would be a bit worried about deferring it till next year, but I'm happy with a 1-week deferral to get that information.
Yep. So can I ask, are there any other... Yeah, Councillor Svensson.
I just have a question. I would also like to speak to it. If, for whatever reason, we meet about this next week and there's a decision to defer it to February, will we then miss the DCP deadline?
Through you, Mayor, I believe that would put the DCP deadline in jeopardy, but we can bring you some fulsome information about that in a further briefing.
Thank you. So, Councillor Svensson, would you like to speak to this motion, which is to defer this until the 17th of December?
Yes, I would. I don't think I can support this motion because I don't think it sets a good precedent in terms of decision making. As we've just heard from officers here, they're not able to tell us about the risks associated with deferring this because it has been a deferral that is happened at the very 11th hour. These sorts of decisions, contracts are they're really big amounts of dollars, and especially when they're involved with something like our Developers Contribution Program. We've heard previously that we've not been able to collect contributions from developers because we've fallen behind on this program in the past. So when we fall behind on these sorts of programs, it can mean that not only can costs blow out, but it can also mean that that we aren't able to collect contributions as we previously would. Please correct me if I'm wrong, anybody else, but that's my understanding. So there's really significant risks with delaying contracts like these, especially when they're DCP contracts at the 11th hour. If we had officer advice that told me there were no risks associated with deferring this, I would be in a much different position. But I'm really concerned about the precedent this sets in terms of using public money responsibly.
Thank you, Councillor Svensson. Councillor Irvin?
Yes, I also just wanted to speak against the deferral. I think I can see the concerns about deferring it to February. I can see that's trying to be overcome by moving it to next week. However, my concern is that nothing really meaningful could happen in a week. I mean, we're talking about changes to car parks that were suggested as part of a road safety audit. I can't imagine that, there could be meaningful change to the design that would satisfy, those concerns. And then if there were, then we're potentially re-tendering anyway. So I really think that 1 week to look at this again, is something that really concerns me. I think we'll probably end up deferring it and then potentially voting to defer it again, which would put the funding and, the amount that we're paying and a lot of public spending at risk. So I think we really have to be careful and considered in our decision making and, vote on this tonight, I guess.
Thank you, Councillor Irvin. Councillor Politis.
Just clarify something. I understand that a deferral of a week is being sought so there can be further engagement with the traders and the people who will be affected by this change. Is that right? Is that what the week will get you, buy you?
So councillors, just to be really clear, so on the table for decision is awarding of a contract. We've gone out to the market to contractors with a very specific scope of works for West Street shopping strip improvements that was shaped by a lot of engagement back some years ago, 2023, 24. We're not going to be able to change the scope of that and award a contract with a different scope. We would need to go back out to market with a new scope and seek new requests for quote on that. And again, the DCP clock is ticking in terms of spending that money.
Thank you. There are other councillors who would like to speak to the proposal for the deferral. Councillor Iwasaki.
Yeah, I thought, a week might be, a reasonable time, but listening to the potential risks and the interrelation of all the different decisions that are tied up in this, I think it would be irresponsible and potentially financially a financially poor decision of the council to make to defer this. Although I understand a week isn't that much time, I think there's a lot of things tied up in this and not a lot of things that could change.
Thank you, Councillor Iwasaki. Councillor Theodosis.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, just in terms of West Street itself, that is my local. I'm probably there 3-4 times a week. I love it there. You got nonnas, tetas, yayas, like it's hustling, it's bustling. I am a bit concerned about the changes to what was agreed upon with traders, and I think just 1 week I think would give us enough time to maybe have those conversations in a bit more of delve into that a bit more, and I think it's worth it to make sure that those businesses and we can look into it a bit further.
Can I just ask a clarifying question?
Councillor
My
Simpson?
understanding is what we just heard from the acting CEO is that further engagement will not be possible.
You could do further engagement, but it's not going to change what we've tendered for. Yeah, certainly, but
But it
in
won't
terms
change.
of changing this decision,
It won't change the contract, so
Yeah.
any changes would mean a whole new recontracting
That's right.
process, which would blow this out past the DCP
Yep, we're not,
timeframe.
we've had the debate, so I think we've clarified. Councillor Bolton, you haven't
Just
spoken.
one little bit of information that I think it would be helpful for councillors who are chatting to the shopkeepers in West Street to actually get an understanding of what the nature of the the safety issues are with the removal of the extra car parks, because that actually might assist. Like initially, the engagement recommended.
Sorry, Councillor Bolton, we're just talking about the motion of a deferral.
Yeah. I just
so
thought this might help us in terms of when we have this council meeting, if people vote for that.
yeah, I think I'll put the vote of the deferral. Sorry, I think I'll put the deferral to the vote. So all those in favour of deferring this item until a special meeting to be held on the 17th of December? Chris? All those in favour of the motion that council defer this item until the 17th? Against? So I think that was carried. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's carried. I declare that carried. So the deferral is carried. Thank you.
Could I call a division on that, please?
Yes. So all those in favour of the deferral of this item? Councillor Bolton, Councillor Davidson, Councillor Miles, Councillor Politis, Councillor Theodosis and Councillor Yildiz. And against? Councillor Irvin, Councillor Iwasaki, Councillor Abood, Councillor Pulford and Councillor Svensson. Okay, another contract. 7.9, Contract Award, RFT 2025-48, Road Reconstruction, Northumberland Road, Pascoe Vale, Fawkner to Longview Street. Do I have a mover for this motion? Councillor Irvin, and a seconder, Councillor Bolton. Councillor Irvin, would you like to speak?
Just briefly, yes, this is for a road reconstruction on Northumberland Road in Pascoe Vale. It's sort of towards the southern section of the street between Fawkner Road to Longview Street. So it's quite a short section of the street, it's sort of going between the parks there. And yes, while there'll be a period of disruption to residents, I'm sure you'll appreciate a new road surface and sort of a complete reconstruction of things like the drainage pipes and pits and footpaths as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Irvin. Councillor Bolton, would you like to speak?
I was informed that some residents who live near the northern end of Northumberland Road have concerns about this project, but I think this is at the southern end of Northumberland Road, which probably would be an area that's likely to be prone for flooding, and especially with increased development, meaning that there's a lot more hard surfaces with development, which create more flooding risk. So I would be, I'm fully in support of doing this drainage works to get this on the go and to address these issues. There are criticisms that there isn't enough work done to upgrade drainage in Merri-bek because there are a lot of old drains in parts of Merri-bek which haven't kept up to pace with the population increase. So I think I'm totally happy with this project going ahead and this contract being awarded.
Thank you, Councillor Bolton. Are there any councillors who would like to speak against the motion? Councillors in support? Councillor Theodosis?
Thank you. Some residents had raised some safety concerns with the street, but upon further investigation, the concerns were on a separate section of Northumberland Road to what is being reconstructed and what we're making a decision on today. So I'm happy to support the awarding of this contract, and I will continue to work with residents, the local school and also council officers to engage on those issues that were raised and see if we can find a solution. But I'm happy to support this road reconstruction today.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Theodosis. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Oops. Okay, 7.10, Contract Award RFT 2025-49 Road Reconstruction, Jersey Street, Coburg, O'Hay to Gaffney Street. Do I have a mover? Councillor Bolton. Seconder? Councillor Irvin. Councillor Bolton, would you like to speak to it?
I'll take it as read. It's really just about the reconstruction of Jessie Street, which runs between O'Hay Street and Gaffney Street in Coburg.
Councillor Irvin.
Yeah, just once again, you know, I know residents will experience a lot of disruption during the road reconstruction, but hopefully you appreciate the smooth surface afterwards.
Are there any councillors that would like to speak against this motion? Anyone else who'd like to speak in support? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Yeah, I know. Thank you. Okay, now we'll move to notices of motion. 8.1, retain the former Coburg North TAFE site for skills innovation and job creation. Councillor Politis. And a seconder? Councillor Miles, thank you. Councillor Miles, Councillor Politis, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. I am very proud to put this motion forward because I think that we need to create more space for job creation. The data and the research shows that we've lost jobs over the past decade or more in Merri-bek. Job creation has not matched job growth. We're going to get an increase in urban density. It would be nice to have more jobs closer to where people live. I think it's also really necessary that we encourage more innovation, more development, that we have more spaces where community can meet, where the arts are supported. And I can go on and on about the range of industries that could possibly go in there. But fundamentally, I think we just have to retain this space for job growth and for job creation. I have been meeting with the residents in the area and I note their concerns and I completely understand their concerns. I'm also very aware of a really awful experience they had with a Bega factory that was based in their vicinity that sneakily started manufacturing 24 hours a day when they were not approved to do so. What I have in mind for this site is not a bigger thing at all. I'm not thinking about heavy manufacturing. When I say industry, I use the term very broadly to cover a whole range of job creation, job development, learning and innovation opportunities. And I also know that council can't do this alone. It's not our site, it's a state-based site, but the state government also can't do this alone. We need funding from a federal level if we are going to realise a good vision for this site and create a place and a space that serves the community and future-proofs the municipality.
Thank you, Councillor Politis. Councillor Miles? No. Are there councillors who, Councillor Bolton, you're speaking against?
Yes, I'm speaking against.
Thank you.
I can absolutely understand Councillor Politis' intentions, and I come from a blue-collar background, and I definitely don't want Merri-bek to become an exclusively white-collar, society. I think blue-collar workers are very important. But I think this motion is totally premature because there are concerns amongst the residents who, the houses this is not like one of those industrial estates that's been specifically created as an industrial estate from scratch where there's no one living there. This is, as the speaker earlier said, 200 residents on this estate, and the houses on this estate predate the estate being nominated as an industrial estate. And the residents in this area like living in an area which is a working area. They're not they don't want to see all industry chased out of the area, but they do want some recognition of their amenity, which the industrial zone does not offer. Their preference, now I know this isn't, we're not able to institute this through notice of motion, but their preference is for a mixed-use zone, which allows industry but also allows for some improved amenity for residents, and that does not exist under the industrial use zone. So I think I'm urging councillors to reject this motion, because I think this is going to the federal government to advocate for a position which is against what the residents are calling for. And I think there needs to be an open period of dialogue between the residents and the council about what is needed in this area. And certainly for some of the residents, because Councillor Polides and Councillor Bood, we've met with the residents yesterday, some of the residents are concerned because they're two properties which are surrounded on three sides by this TAFE site, and plus people don't know what's going to happen with the section of the TAFE site across the road. So this will be, could be potential bigger cheese, which was that factory which caused certainly one resident I'm aware of to have hearing loss. Hopefully it wasn't a permanent hearing loss.
Councillor Bolton.
So I urge councillors to reject this motion to allow us to continue the dialogue before we make any contact with the federal government.
Thank you, Councillor Bolton. Are there other councillors who would like to speak to the motion? Councillor Iwasaki?
Yeah, I think I understand. I also understand the intent behind it, but having lived in an area that was residential, then zoned industrial, then back to being a residential area, I think locking it in to advocate for straight industrial leads to a lot of conflicts, and that is actually an issue in Bree Street, which we may have heard, and Colebrook Street. So industrial and residential, side by side can be quite contentious with some of the uses, and I think what's really desired in these sort of areas are updating to proper mixed-use areas that take into account the existing residents. So yeah, I very much hear both sides of this argument and the intent behind them, but I think that having lived in former industrial zone, I can empathize a lot with the residents and will be voting against.
Thank you, Councillor Iwasaki. Are there other councillors who would like to speak? Councillor Svensson?
I'll speak just very briefly, but I think we heard it loud and clear earlier when we saw all of the residents and residents who were members of the church earlier, how important it is to deeply consult and understand the views of our community. Given that, I will be voting against. I think we need to take time to understand the needs of the people in the community. And I also wholeheartedly agree with the comments of Councillor Iwasaki that we need to understand how this site has changed over time and what its needs are going to be moving forward.
Thank you, Councillor Svensson. Are there other councillors who would like to speak to the motion? You have the right of reply, Councillor Polides.
Yep, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Look, I hear the concerns, and there's a number of them. The first thing is the concerns of the residents. I've been hearing them for a period of time, and I guess what this motion is all about is really, advocating for something better in the area, because change will come. The change is inevitable. It is a state-owned site. And so I want to give this site the best opportunity to develop in the best way possible and take on board all the concerns of the residents and work with them in the best way possible. I think holding back on this motion or rejecting this motion doesn't do that. Sue Bolton talked about blue-collar work. I don't have blue-collar work front of mind. I don't even know what blue-collar work is anymore. If we're talking about factories, I've stated again and again and again, a factory is not what I have in mind here. I think that there is a lot of work that can be done in what is white-collar environment, to lean into that kind of terminology. So I certainly don't have, a manufacturing vision in mind, not unless it's, of course, a very clean, very advanced type of manufacturing using maybe 3D technology or something like that. And we're not quite there yet. The area is zoned industrial, and as such, I think that if we don't take an active role and be an active voice in the development at council level and seek funding from the federal level, we're probably allowing the state government to make decisions that actually may result in a worse outcome for the residents.
Thank you, Councillor Politis. I'll put that motion to the vote. All those in favour? Sorry. That's right, yes. Yeah. All those in favour? Against? I declare that lost. Thank you. Okay, so the next item is 8.2, venues for councillor workshops. Councillor Bolton, I'll need to find you a seconder. Councillor Miles?
Okay, so this motion, for people who might be watching the meeting but don't know what it's about, is that council holds all councillor workshops at locations in Melbourne and preferably locations in Merri-bek. So this, the reason I'm moving this motion, I've moved similar motions in previous years, is because council routinely holds councillor workshops, often with developing the council plan or the budget or whatever, at locations. Sometimes they have been in Melbourne, but quite often they're at fancy conference venues outside of Melbourne, and sometimes a considerable distance outside of Melbourne. I don't believe there's any necessity for this. I don't feel that I can think more clearly at some sort of fancy conference venue outside of Merri-bek or outside of Melbourne. I don't think I'm any clearer a thinker there than I am within the city of Merri-bek or within the city of Melbourne. So my motion is simply that council ends this practice at holding council workshops at fancy venues outside of Melbourne. I mean, I also think from a cost of living point of view, I just don't think council should be spending large amounts of money on fancy venues when we've got our own venues here that we could use.
Thank you,
And it also takes councillors away from the community, because if it's a weekend workshop, the expectation is that you stay at overnight at the council venues, these conference venues. Sometimes they're a considerable way out of Melbourne, and they're often community activities councillors really should be engaging with.
Thank you, Councillor Bolton. Councillor Miles, as a seconder, would you like to speak?
Yeah, look, I feel I've had some really good arguments for us going and very good arguments for us against. I think that coming from blue collar, I think I am blue collar being a tradesperson, when I tend to explain to other people who work in different sort of sectors, not in this sort of political world that we're in, that when I say, we need to go away to work better, they laugh at me. And it's like, yeah, these is just how we have to do things. And I think that when you try and get things past the pub test and you look at someone who's, might be an electrician, Dazza and Shazza, and you talk to them and say, look, we've got to do this. And they can't understand it. Like, they can work in the sun all day and Sharon can work as a nurse, but we then have to go away to be able to work together. And I understand that there is this, getting together and working together, but we're elected and paid just to get on with it without having to go away. And another concern I have, which doesn't actually affect anyone at the moment, but one day it might, is that people might have young kids and they can't get away. And if they have to find ways to take care of their kids and accommodation and all that sort of stuff while they've got a young family, or they might be a single mother or a single father, who we need more representation from those people, who then can't leave and they can't represent their community because they can't get to Torquay or Anglesey or wherever it is, because of the way in which we've structured things. And I think that makes it really hard for accessibility and diversity of what council should be. So I do understand, some people strongly disagree with me, and I respect that. I think this is really something that comes down to what you see the benefit in council money. I really do struggle to see the amount we spend to the benefit we get.
Thank you, Councillor Miles. Is there a councillor that would like to speak against this motion?
I'd like to move an amendment.
Would you like to propose your amendment?
Yes, I'd like to propose the amendment, the wording that I circulated around earlier.
So, Councillor Bolton, as the mover, have you got access to those words? Yeah.
I'm happy to just explain what it is without...
We'll just get the words for Councillor Bolton to have a look at.
Basically, it's about looking further at lots of different ways we can reduce cost. Not just about location. Might need some advice on...
Just bear with me for a sec.
That's okay. It's basically about exploring all ways that we could reduce the costs associated with the workshops.
So, sorry, if I just could interrupt you for the sake of process. We've just had some advice from governance that it's more likely to be considered a foreshadowed motion if this motion is lost.
I'm happy to include something about looking at cost,
So, Councillor Svensson, would you like to propose a second point, perhaps, that adds to the intent of Councillor Bolton's motion and talks about reducing costs?
That sounds good to me. Basically just incorporating that we have, as was circulated in my amendment, that we have officers look into other opportunities to reduce costs associated with the workshops.
Yeah.
It's just happening now.
Yeah, I'm totally.
I do have one actually question of officers though with combining these into each other, just a technical question. I'm curious about the workshop that we already have booked for next year and whether there are any financial implications of us, because I know that workshop isn't booked in Melbourne and we're all talking about trying to keep costs low. I just want to know if implementing this now could actually cost us money with what we've already booked. Does
So
that
we'll
make sense?
just get an answer to that question.
Thanks, Councillor Svensson. We have paid a deposit for that facility. I'm not sure of the cost of that, but there's a chance that we'll lose that deposit.
Would it be amenable for this to take place following the next workshop to avoid the loss of money?
How much is the deposit, I guess? How much we're looking at losing?
I don't have the exact figures in front of me, Councillor Bolton, but it would be in the low thousands, I would think. Yeah.
I wonder if it's appropriate for me to propose a deferral so that this could actually be worked out a bit more clearly. It seems like points 1 and 2 don't necessarily complement each other because point 1 says hold them in Melbourne and point 2 says reduce the costs, but you would expect that holding them in Melbourne would reduce the costs. So and considering it's going to make...
I'm happy with the amendment. I'm totally happy. And also I'd be happy to implement it after this next councillor workshop if we're likely to lose the deposit.
Okay. So I'll just get some advice.
But the 2 points are not counterposed.
Sure.
If they were counterposed,
can I
I'd
just
say they're a
ask,
foreshadowed
Is it
motion.
a scenario where we need to add a third point that talks about the timing of this motion?
Yeah, that is a good point. It probably should be a third point then.
Or even just starts with point 1 from March 2026 or something like that. So that that indicates after.
Or from the end of the financial year.
Sure.
Yeah.
So point 3 would be that this decision would be implemented after the end of the from the end of the 2025-2026 financial year.
Okay, just bear with us. We think we know what to put up there, and we'll get some words up there.
I've just said some words
Yep.
that this decision take effect from the end of the 2025-2026 financial year.
Yeah. That's just happening at the beginning instead of the end. So that council, commencing, I guess, July 1, 2026. Point 1, holds all councillor workshops. 2, seeks to reduce. Are there any other councillors who would like? Great. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, thank you. It's important. Are there councillors who would like to speak to the motion? Councillor Iwasaki?
Yeah, well, I'm a little bit confused, so I don't know if I have an amendment to propose, but I think I want to speak against, just on the premise that Melbourne's a bit vague, and as we're in the north of Melbourne, it may be cheaper to go outside of Melbourne technically than to the southern end of Melbourne. And if the objective is to me, the real objective here is to get away from the everyday emotional and habitual patterns that we hold. And we don't have to do that in an expensive way, but it has a value in allowing better ways to think outside the box from how you usually do. So I guess I would propose to defer it, to have some more clarity on locations and actual ways to address costs that are not as vague, because I agree with the premise, but as we're in the north of Melbourne, the south of Melbourne is further away than some other places that we have had sessions before.
So just, can I ask, are you proposing that we defer the motion? Yeah. Is there a seconder for the deferral? Councillor Davidson. Councillor Iwasaki, would you like to speak further to the idea of deferring?
No, I just think we need to hash it out a little bit more clearly, and I think we can come to a solution that takes into everything that everyone's spoken to into account.
And so you'd be happy to defer until the February meeting?
Yes.
Okay, and are you happy with that, Councillor Davidson? And would you like to speak to your second?
No, I am happy with that. I think that Councillor Iwasaki has raised some really good points, and I think that a collaborative discussion on this is something that's going to be needed, rather than making a decision now and there's consequences like Councillor Iwasaki has spoken of that we haven't foreseen.
Yeah.
Can I speak?
Yes, you
We've
may.
had 2 speakers in
This is
favour.
about the deferral.
About the deferral,
Yes,
yeah.
that's right.
I think it's pretty simple motion myself. I think most people find it simple, and it actually has a phrase at the end of point 1 which says preferably locations in Merri-bek, which gives the hint that we should try, and if we can't find a location in Merri-bek, we should try and find somewhere in the northern suburbs or thereabout. It seems like a pretty clear hint to me. Yeah, and I certainly don't feel, I think better in Dalesford or, wherever than I can in Merri-bek or Melbourne.
So are there other councillors that would speak to the motion to defer till Feb? Councillor Theodosis?
Yeah, I think I really do understand the intention behind Councillor Bolton's, and also agree with a lot of what Councillor Miles was saying as well about reducing costs, especially in a cost of living crisis. I did feel a bit conflicted about this because I also do really think there is some value in us getting together, being away, in the sense that we, I think, then can work a lot more effectively together.
So, sorry,
and that's why...
To the deferral?
Yeah. And because of that sort of confliction of how I feel. I think getting some more information, getting some clearer wording, and seeing if maybe we can reach something that we're a bit more comfortable with would be a good idea, and deferring it.
Thank you, Councillor Theodosis. Councillor Svensson.
I think an important thing to note that these workshops ideally are all about finding ways for us to work well together.
We're speaking to the deferral.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I do think by deferring the motion and trying to come to a clearer idea that ideally, and I know this isn't always possible, ideally that we can come to consensus on, I think is in the spirit of what these workshops are for, that they are to try and help us work better together. I may be being a little bit too idealistic here, but I do think there's benefit in us talking this through. I do see benefit in us reducing the cost, but I also see benefit in us talking about the best way to reduce the cost.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Svensson. I'm going to put the proposal to defer this matter until the February 2026 meeting to the vote. All those in favour? Against? And I declare that carried. So we'll talk about it together and then see it back in the chamber in Feb. Thank you. Okay, I'll now move to 8.3, which is mobile coverage for Optus Network in Brunswick. Councillor Pulford, I believe this is yours. And a seconder, please. Councillor Irvin.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, this is very simple, really. Earlier this year, well, there were reports in the community that earlier this year, a mobile cell tower next to Brunswick Baths in Brunswick was removed. Since then, it's really poor coverage there, particularly for data coverage. And I go to the Brunswick Baths gym. I can't do anything on my phone while I'm there. But it's not just me. It's the workers there have also said when they're trying to do their work on their phone, like booking personal training sessions or confirming with clients, they really struggle to get signal. They said they used to be able to see a tower from where they worked, and now they can't see that tower anymore. So this is only writing to Optus to ask kind of, was the tower removed, letting them know that we are getting reports from people in our community that there's poor coverage there, and then asking them what are their plans to improve coverage. Where they're in a city, you wouldn't expect to have such poor coverage, but when you can't even download emails in the heart of Brunswick, it's not really good enough. It's a tricky spot here in terms of there didn't seem to be a key government authority that could kind of force Optus to provide coverage. That's why we're starting with Optus. But later down the track, if Optus isn't giving us information or has no plans to increase coverage, we could seek to help organise residents to make a complaint to the TIO, the Ombudsman, or talk to the ACMA, the Communications and Media Authority. So we're starting with Optus and we'll see how we go, and I hope that councillors support this notice of motion tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Pulford. Councillor Irvin, would you like to speak?
Nothing to add.
Other councillors who'd like to speak against the motion? Any other councillors in support?
Just one clarifying question. Is it data or is it the phone calls as well? Is it just data?
It seems to be mainly data, but yeah, like I wouldn't think that 000 calls wouldn't get through, for example. It's more
it is Optus,
coverage.
so,
Yeah, well, yeah.
Councillor Bolton?
Here's hoping.
Thank you,
Well,
Councillor
I
Bolton.
think in the light of the 000 calls not going through, I think it's absolutely timely that we do this.
Thank you, Councillor Bolton. Are there other councillors that would like to speak? I put this to the vote. All those in favour? Declare that carried unanimously. All right. So we now have reached notices of rescission, and I don't think I have any. So I will move to foreshadowed items. Are there any, Councillor Yildiz?
So what I'll be doing next council meeting is I just want to foreshadow an item regarding the discussions we had earlier today about the Greek Church, asking for a report for specific impacts that may occur due to the proposal that we're discussing.
Thank you, Councillor Yildiz. I'll now move to urgent business, and I have no matters of urgent business. So I'll ask if I could please have a mover to close the meeting to the public. Councillor Irvin and Councillor Iwasaki to second. I'll put that to the vote. Declare that carried. Thank you. Goodbye, everyone. So I'd like to thank everybody watching live streaming at home or wherever you are for your interest in council matters, and I wish you all a good night, and thank you to the people who have already left the gallery. I now declare the council meeting closed to the public at 9:10.